Hello students, a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to my channel. This is a very important class on concepts based on West Bengal set 2022 question paper, and today is the first part of the video. But before starting, I want to give you a brief introduction about myself. My name is Brishti Mukherjee. I have qualified NTA UGC NET exam in English literature 3 times and have also qualified West Bengal set examination. I have 2 years of teaching experience. Moreover, I have also taught in NPTEL online course from IIT Madras 3 times. So that is all about myself. This is the link of my Telegram channel. Those of you who have not joined yet, please join to get notification of all important classes. And also please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel so that many more new learners can join. Good evening Shushmita, welcome. तो जो भी स्टूडेंट्स वीडियो को देख रहे हो एक बार प्लीज लाइक एंड शेयर कर देना ताकि और भी स्टूडेंट ज्वाइन कर सके. गुड इवनिंग पापड़ी, वेलकम. And these are the new timings of the classes. Monday to Friday at 8:30 p.m. So don't forget to join me live. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to get notification. Good evening, Moshumi. Welcome. So today we will discuss some of the important concepts based on West Bengal set 2022 question paper. So today we will discuss some important concept, and in tomorrow's class we will complete this portion. Okay. So first concept is types of text. जिसके ऊपर आपका एक क्वेश्चन आया था, टाइप्स ऑफ टेक्स्ट, व्हिच इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ इंडेक्स इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ व्हिच काइंड ऑफ टेक्स्ट. दिस काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन हैज बीन आस्क्ड. So types of text we will talk about in brief. So actually types of text, it is actually part of Gerard Genet's description of narratology. Basically it is not text, it is a part of transtextuality. Gerard Genet, the famous critic of narratology, he has given the idea of transtextuality. Transtextuality means that how one text is related to another text. This relationship has many variations, different kinds of relationships. So transtextuality talks about relationship between two texts. Relationship between two text. And इसका कई सारे types होते हैं. तो इसी टाइप में से आते हैं पैराटेक्स्ट, मेटाटेक्स्ट, ऑल दिस थिंग्स. Yes. So the very first type is metatext. This is actually part of your narratology theory, which is also associated with structuralism. So first part is metatext. What is metatext? It is a subtext talking about a main text. So meta नेम जहां पर भी होता है, हमें ये पता है कि वो उसी चीज को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. मेटाटेक्स्ट और भी मतलब मेटाफोर अलग सा चीज है. मेटाफिजिकल पोएट्री दैट इज डिफरेंट थिंग, बट मेटा टेक्स्ट मतलब है टेक्स्ट अबाउट टेक्स्ट, राइट. सो सबटेक्स्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट अ मेन टेक्स्ट दैट इज नोन एज मेटाटेक्स्ट. तो बेसिकली क्या है, अ टेक्स्ट एक्सपैंड्स टू अदर काइंड्स ऑफ टेक्स्ट व्हेन अ टेक्स्ट इज इलस्ट्रेटेड इनटू अदर काइंड्स ऑफ टेक्स्ट. फॉर एग्जांपल यू मे से that the original novel is a text and the criticism work based on it, that is a meta text. You can say, because it is actually based on that main text. Main text is your novel and subtext or meta text is actually your criticism part. So it is also a type of subtext. Okay, subtext क्या है मैं वो भी आगे बताऊंगी. So it is part of Gerard Genet's description of narratology and it is also a kind of transtextuality. As I have already told you, transtextuality has 5 parts and it talks about relationship between two texts. So this is also a kind of relationship, that one text is talking about another text, which means both texts are related with each other. Yes, like summary. Not like summary exactly. Summary, I think summary should be subtext. Metatext means any kind of critical work based on that, which means यहाँ पर जो expand की बात हो रहा है, देखो summary में हम क्या बताते हैं, हम gist बताते हैं कोई एक text का. But metatext actually, when a text expands into other kinds of text, which means that Hardy's Return of the Native is a novel, and there are suppose 10 books on different perspectives of Return of the Native, the critical works. So those are all meta text based on this particular novel. Okay, yes, critical analysis of a text, that is a very good example of meta text. Okay, जिसमें एक टेक्स्ट को हम एक्सपैंड कर रहे हैं, वेराइटीज ऑफ पर्सपेक्टिव्स उसमें इंक्लूड हो रहा है, ठीक है. So that is meta text. Next concept है intertextuality. Intertextuality is very common, you all know. Every book has certain quotations or allusions from other books. So that quotation is known as intertextuality. Intertextually related to each other. For example, you are reading a novel of, I'm just giving one example. You are reading a novel of Charles Dickens. Okay, and in that novel, you have got a reference to a Shakespearean play. You have got a quotation from a Shakespearean play, maybe. So in that case, this is intertextual. मतलब the Shakespearean play which is mentioned in a novel of Charles Dickens, that is intertextuality. So every book has certain allusion, quotation inspired from some sources. That is intertextuality. Now, yes, Papi, right. Post-colonial analysis of Tempest. That is also a part of criticism. And Tempest expands to post-colonial theory. Yes, that is also a kind of meta text. Okay, so this is intertextuality. This is very common thing. Now, what is paratext? Whose question का answer paratext था, that index is a kind of paratext. So paratext actually marks the elements at the entrance of a text which helps to control the reception of a text by the reader. For example, epigraph, foreword, preface, and also इसके साथ आपके index भी होगा. So it actually the entrance of a text or to understand a text. Not only index is not at the entrance portion, index is given at the last section of the book. Especially you will found index in any book of history of literature. Alphabetically you will found some index, and it actually helps us to find out an author. For example, instantly आपको ढूंढना है कि थॉमस हार्डी कहाँ पर है. Instantly आपको ढूंढना है कि टी.एस. एलियट कहाँ पर है. So it becomes very difficult to find out modern age and then go back to some 100-200 pages to find T.S. Eliot. Right? So the shortcut trick is that go to the index portion, jump to letter T, and here you will find that T.S. Eliot is mentioned in this and this and these pages. So T.S. Eliot मतलब Eliot T.S. ऐसे करके लिखा होता है इंडेक्स में, Eliot T.S. It is mentioned in suppose 300, 391, 392, these pages, and some numbers are in bold letter. Bold letter means that in that particular page you will get a detailed description of that writer. So that is the easier way to find out a particular information in a huge book, right? So that is also paratext. So index is given at the end of the text. That is also paratext. It is associated with main text, and it helps to control the reception of the text by the reader. Obviously, you don't need to read the whole book, but suppose there is a huge volume of literature, and you just need to know, you just need to revise the romantic age only before exam. Suppose you have 4 volumes or 2 volumes of David Dage's book, and you just want to revise the portion of preface to lyrical ballads from that book before going to the exam hall. Now you can't remember that in which page preface to lyrical ballads was given. So then index will help you. Go to the index section and you will find that yes, preface to lyrical ballad is in suppose 245 pages. So you directly go to 245 and read the entry on preface to lyrical ballad. So that is index. Index is also a kind of paratext. And also epigraph, foreword, preface. Yes, this also controls the reception of the text by the reader. बहुत सारे text में epigraph होता है. You have also read that. So it helps to give the reader an idea that what the text is going to talk about. What can be the main theme of the text. You can make a smart guess from that. Okay, and it draws the attention. So it is the entrance of the text, that is paratext. Okay, now hypertextuality, this is very common. You have all seen that. Hypertextuality is when a particular text over which another text is based but modifies, extends the format. For example, White Sargasso Sea is a hypotext which is based on the hypertext Jane Eyre. So hypertextuality means when one text is based on other. So the text which is written on the basis of the main text. The main text is called hypertext and the modified version is called hypotext. So obviously Jane Eyre here is an hypertext जिसका एक post colonial interpretation है White Sargassy, which is often considered as a prequel to Jane Eyre. So that is hypotext. Okay, so this is about hypertextuality. And architectuality means it is related to the design of a text, the structure of a text. That is architectuality. So these are the 5 kinds of textuality. जिसमें आपको paratextuality पूछा था. Okay, moving on to our next concept, that is subtext. Now, meta text is a kind of subtext, as I have already told you. Now, subtext क्या है? Subtext is actually underlying meaning of a text. The interpretation, the hidden interpretation which we try to uncover, that is subtext. It is not explicitly mentioned but should be understood by the reader. So एक apparent meaning होता है हर लाइन का और एक hidden meaning होता है, inner meaning होता है. So that inner meaning is actually subtext, which is not directly mentioned in the text, that yes, this option number A is the inner meaning, apparent meaning, and option number B is the inner meaning. ऐसे करके नहीं दिया होता है, but you need to understand when a reader is reading a text or also when a critic is analyzing a text, then the critic is not trying to talk about the apparent meaning but the inner meaning mainly. Apparent meaning is just a structure, and on the basis of that apparent meaning, the critic and also the reader is trying to uncover the inner thing, that what does it actually mean to say, what is the exact meaning of that word. So that is actually subtext, which is not explicitly mentioned, but which is very closely integrally associated with the main text. And it helps the reader to come to a proper conclusion. And that is very very important for allegorical work. Any kind of allegorical work should have a subtext, right? For example, Animal Farm. Apparently it's a kind of children's story, that it is talking about an animal farm where all the animals, they are talking with each other. One animal is trying to be at the power and the other animals are trying to protest against that, but inherently it is talking about the whole political system in Russia and at the then time. So Stalin, Napoleon, सबका criticism यहाँ पर है. So apparent meaning is that it is really an animal farm where pig is a character, horse is a character, all these kinds of things. But actually inner meaning is, it is a political allegory. It is satirizing the contemporary situation. It is satirizing the human corruption, right? So that is Animal Farm. So that is the inner meaning of Animal Farm. That is the subtext of Animal Farm, which we reader must understand. Also, another important work is Gulliver's Travels. So you all read Gulliver's Travels as a children's story, as an adventure story. But in each book of Gulliver's Travels, Swift is trying to satirize England, specifically in the last book, when we describe Swift as misanthropist, right? But it is talking about just a kind of group of horses and Gulliver's interaction with them, how Gulliver came to that world, uh, right? And Hunims and Yahoos, they are the members. So apparently it is a fantasy story. Apparently it's a fantasy story, so that is the apparent meaning, but the subtext is very rich. You can make so many interpretation of that thing, right? So that is it is also a famous allegorical work, Gulliver's Travels. So any allegorical work should have a subtext. Good evening, Jyoti. Welcome. Okay, moving on to next concept, forms of citation. This is very important. Forms of citation से नेट में भी अभी क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं एंड सेट में भी आपका पूछा था कि ऑथर डेट टाइटल, ये साइटेशन कौन से स्टाइल में होता है. तो फॉर्म्स ऑफ साइटेशन में कौन कौन से चीज आते हैं. फर्स्ट इज एमएलएस स्टाइल, व्हिच वी यूज very frequently while writing any research paper or dissertation or MPhil thesis. कोई भी जर्नल आर्टिकल, कोई भी थीसिस पेपर लिखने के टाइम हम ज्यादातर केसेस में एमएलएस स्टाइल को यूज करते हैं. तो एमएलएस स्टाइल का मतलब प्रोसीजर क्या है लिखने का. इफ द सोर्स हैज वन ऑथर, प्लेस द लास्ट नेम फर्स्ट, एड ए कॉमा एंड देन द फर्स्ट नेम. This is the first thing to write, that we should not write Thomas Hardy, we must write Hardy Thomas. So that is the basic feature of ML style. We should write the surname of the author first and then the main name. Okay. So place the last name first, add a comma and then the first name. In case of two authors, second author's name should be written in standard form. तो हार्डी थॉमस एंड सपोज इसके साथ आप लिख रहे हो चार्ल्स डिकेंस, तो यहाँ पर आप चार्ल्स डिकेंस ही लिखोगे इन स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्म, ठीक है. बट द फर्स्ट थिंग इज द फर्स्ट नेम ऑफ द ऑथर मस्ट बी इन्वर्टेड. In case of more authors, add the name of the first author and then write et al. So suppose Hardy Thomas et al. इसके साथ और भी कई सारे राइटर्स हैं जिन्होंने एक साथ ये लिखा था. Hardy Thomas et al. Et al means that there are also a number of writers who have collaborated with Thomas Hardy to write this particular work. And without good evening, Iftikhar, welcome. And while citing any book or complete work, the title should be in italics. Yes, you all know. In other case, you can put it within quote. So whenever you are mentioning the name of a novel, for example, The Return of the Native, that should be in italics. And if you are talking about an article based on Return of the Native, जिसका title कुछ भी हो सकता है, for example, Character of Klim, a tragic hero. For example, this is the name of the article. Okay, so that should be given in double quote. This is the style of MLA writing. तो इस टाइप से होता है ऑथर्स लास्ट नेम, फर्स्ट नेम, देन टाइटल ऑफ ई बुक. अगर आप कोई इंटरनेट से कोई बुक ले रहे हो तो ई बुक का टाइटल, पब्लिशर का नाम, ईयर पब्लिश जो अभी कुछ कुछ केसेस में नहीं दी जा रही है, ठीक है. एंड इसके साथ एक और चीज था, प्लेस ऑफ पब्लिकेशन. प्लेस ऑफ पब्लिकेशन अभी ज्यादा यूज नहीं होता है, ईयर पब्लिश्ड यूज होता है, बट प्लेस ऑफ पब्लिकेशन वो ज्यादातर केसेस में हम नहीं यूज कर रहे हैं अभी. And finally, URL. URL is only applicable when you are accessing an e-source. For example, you are downloading any article from JSTOR. Then JSTOR का जो URL है वो आपको देना होगा https://www.jstor.org करके जो URL होता है वो आपको देना होगा. Title of the e-book that is mentioned in italics. Publisher name, for example, Atlantic Publisher. You need to write that. Okay. So that is MLA style. Now what is APA style? APA का full form है American Phonological Association. इसमें क्या होता है, ऑथर्स लास्ट नेम, उसके साथ फर्स्ट इनिशियल. ये भी एक टाइप का ऑथर डेट काइंड ऑफ साइटेशन है. मैंने आपको ऑप्शन में बताया था APA एंड उसके साथ था चिकागो. वी विल ऑल्सो टॉक अबाउट चिकागो. सो ऑथर डेट क्यों, ऑथर के नेम के बाद ही आपको डेट लिखना पड़ता है, ठीक है. तो यहाँ पर देखो पब्लिकेशन ईयर एकदम लास्ट में था MLA स्टाइल में, बट इन APA स्टाइल पब्लिकेशन ईयर इज गिवन फर्स्ट, then you need to write the title of the book. So that is why author date. So author का last name, for example Hardy, and then only Thomas का T, first initial. Then आपको publication year लिखना होगा, ठीक है. And then title of the book, Return of the Native, then उसके edition, for example second edition, and then publisher का नाम लिखना होगा. So that is in the APA style. Yes, right, Papri. If 3 or 4 authors, then we need to write it all. But if 2 authors, then we should mention the name. Yes, absolutely. So APA style में ये होता है. अच्छा, APA style में और क्या होता है? No distinction is made between books, journal article, internet document or other formats except for electronic documents that do not provide page number. तो क्या होता है यहाँ पर MLA में, जैसे हमने देखा कि जर्नल आर्टिकल का साइटेशन कुछ अलग होगा, बुक का अलग होगा, ठीक है, क्रिटिसिज्म वर्क का अलग होगा, नॉवेल का अलग होगा. बट APA स्टाइल में ये सारे डिस्टिंक्शन नहीं है एक्सेप्ट योर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डॉक्यूमेंट्स. अगर आप ई बुक डाउनलोड कर रहे हो जिसमें आपको ज्यादातर केसेस में पेज नंबर नहीं होता है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू आर रीडिंग अ पर्टिकुलर ब्लॉग. Okay, if you are reading a particular blog and you need to cite that, so in the blog generally we don't have page number, right? So in that case you need to write the name of the blogger and you should given the URL of that blog. Okay, so in this case use the paragraph number if available with the abbreviation para. If paragraph number is available then you can use that. Now in Chicago style is known as author date style, जो आपके क्वेश्चन में आया था. यहाँ पर भी सेम बात है, नो डिस्टिंक्शन इज मेड बिटवीन बुक, जर्नल, आर्टिकल, इंटरनेट डॉक्यूमेंट, ऑलमोस्ट सेम, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पर क्या है, यूज ओनली द सरनेम ऑफ द ऑथर्स एंड द ईयर ऑफ पब्लिकेशन। So the main difference is that in APS style we write the surname and then we write the initial name of the author, the initial letter, actually the initial letter. But in Chicago style we just need to write the surname, we just need to write the surname, this is not needed. And surname के बाद आप year of publication यहाँ पर mention करोगे, then you should include page, chapter और section number. For example novel का 33 से लेकर 79 पेज तक आप यूज कर रहे हो, so वो आपको mention करना होगा। अगर कोई chapter mention है तो for example chapter 2 से लेकर chapter 5 तक, so that should be mentioned preceded by a comma. So that is in Chicago style, which we do not generally use. So सबसे ज़्यादा use होता है ML style. Now, what is MHRA style? I have made a mistake in the previous video. I have also mentioned in the comment section. MHRA का full form मैंने थोड़ा सा गलत बताया था. Full form है Modern Humanities Research Association Referencing. वो जो मैंने फुल फॉर्म बताया मेडिकल से रिलेटेड, दैट इज एक्चुअली इन जनरल फुल फॉर्म, बट इन लिटरेचर वो फुल फॉर्म नहीं होगा। लिटरेचर में फुल फॉर्म यही है, मॉडर्न ह्यूमैनिटीज रिसर्च एसोसिएशन रेफरेंसिंग। So what is this style of citation? First of all, you need to give the name of the author, then article title, then journal name, then volume, publication year within bracket, then page range, then page number. Page range means suppose you have read an article which has total 30 pages. So 1 to 30, that is your page range. But you have quoted or you have used only 24. So that is your page number. Okay. So this should be mentioned in MHRA style where page range is given. First of all, you need to write page range, then page number. So इस kind of question भी आ सकता है कि in which style page range and page number both are given. So that is in MHRA style. Okay, so these are very important things. Moving on to next topic, that is validity. एक validity से question आया था, ELT research में कौन से validity आपका essential होता है। तो वैलिडिटी में फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आते हैं इंटरनल वैलिडिटी, जो हमने रिसर्च में भी पढ़ा था। इंटरनल वैलिडिटी मींस, एक्चुअली वैलिडिटी मींस द डिग्री टू व्हिच अ स्टडी एक्यूरेटली रिफ्लेक्ट्स और assesses the specific concept that the researcher is trying to measure. So it actually validates the research. It proves that how your research accurately depicting some phenomena. So accuracy is based on validity. Okay, now internal validity depends on how accurately the researcher can define the cause-effect relationship between two or more variables, which is the basic thing to analyze a particular event or a particular phenomenon. So cause-effect relationship, which is at the center of any kind of analysis, that should be analyzed properly or accurately, and that accuracy is actually your internal validity. That is actually your internal validity. Good evening, Mukesh. Welcome. Now, internal validity also talks about how rigorously the study is conducted and how the researcher accepts alternative explanation. Obviously, how accurately you are collecting the data, how properly you are analyzing it, and how you are making a combination or making a coordination between alternative explanation. That is also important. That one interpretation नहीं होता है, आप multiple interpretation को जोड़ करके इस टाइप से एक complete text बनाते हो, एक complete आपके research work बनाते हो. That is actually your internal validity. Okay, moving on to next, that is external validity. What is external validity? External validity is also known as generalizability, which means that you are making the research accurately. You have done no mistake in your methodology or in your objectives, but that is your internal validity. And external validity will judge that how much the result of the study can be generalized or transferred. So the research which you have done, how much it can be generalized, how much it is applicable among a large number of people. It is it applicable to only one or two people, or is it applicable to 1,000 people? If it is applicable to 1,000 people, then your research has external validity also. Okay, and it depends on how the researcher controls the external variables or aspects to get accurate result. Okay, good evening Ifra, welcome. तो एक्सटर्नल वेरिएबल को कैसे रिसर्चर कंट्रोल कर रहा है, मतलब जो बाहर की चीज है जो रिसर्च को इम्पैक्ट करता है, आपने पढ़ा होगा पेपर 1 में, तो इसको कंट्रोल करके रिसर्च को आप फोकस्ड रखते हो किस तरीके से, दैट इज योर जनरलाइजेबिलिटी. ओके, अच्छा, नेक्स्ट आते हैं फेस वैलिडिटी. दिस इज नॉट गिवन इन द क्वेश्चन बट दीज आर टाइप्स ऑफ वैलिडिटी. Face validity means it is talking about how a measure or procedure appears, which is the appearance of a methodology. It does not depend on theories. It talks about that whether the survey measures the right thing what is supposed to measure. For example, you are applying an experimental methodology to judge to do a particular experiment in laboratory. Now, this face validity will judge that if that particular method, A method, is applicable to do that experiment or not. Is A method appropriate to do that experiment, or it is B method which is appropriate. So, if B method proves to be appropriate, then your research will be considered without any kind of face validity. So face validity, it doesn't talk about theory. It talks about that the methodology which you are using, is it applicable to your study or not? Or is it correctly measures or correctly fulfills your objectives or not? That is actually face validity. Thank you so much, Priya. It is all of your support. Okay, then content validity. Content validity based on content, you all know subject matter. So researcher must take into consideration all aspects of a particular field of study. For example, the topic which you are choosing for your research, that should have content validity, which means the content must be significant. It must have a kind of it must have a kind of its own importance. एंड अगर आप वो रिसर्च गैप को फुलफिल करते हो तो उससे एक बहुत बड़ा कुछ रिवील होने वाला है. So this is actually your content validity, that your content must be specific, your content must be valid. Okay, you should not take a very loose topic for your research, or you should not consider something which has already been done. For example, you are picking up author A and there are so many works already done on author A. So that topic is not possessing content validity. You need to find out a topic which will be very solid, focused, and also justifiable. And it is based on which extent the researcher reflects the specific domain of content. How much your research topic is focused, how much pointed, that is your content validity. Okay. Next हम आते हैं construct validity. It is based on construction, how you are constructing your plan of research. So it establishes a relation between a theoretical concept and a specific measuring device. So the theory which you are using and उसके साथ आप जो methodology apply कर रहे हो, उसके साथ आप जो instrument use कर रहे हो, इन तीनों के बीच में एक relation बनाता है construct validity. These three things must be in complementation with each other. Okay, the researcher takes into consideration some related aspects to the study. Obviously, suppose when in literature, when you are choosing a broad area, and for example, you are choosing American literature as your broad area, and then you are dividing that area into American novel, American drama, prose. Okay, in this way आप divide कर रहे हो. Now you are trying to do you are planning to do your research on American novel mainly after the depression era. For example, you are trying to cover that kind of novels or that kind of plays which are written during the Great Depression era. Now that doesn't mean that you should only read American novel that is written in the Depression era. You need to consider the other aspects also. At that time American poetry कैसा था, at that time American drama कैसा था, as a whole American history में किस टाइप का इवेंट उस टाइम चल रहा है, what are the political tension, what are the major acts that were published. All these things must be uh, under your consideration. So that is the construct validity, that in that way you can get a proper topic or a proper construction for your research. ओके, चलो नेक्स्ट हम आते हैं, यस, ऑन द सबलाइम से एक क्वेश्चन था, एक कोटेशन देकर आपको पूछा था कि नेचुरल एंडोमेंट के साथ कौन कौन सी चीजें रिलेटेड है। तो ऑन द सबलाइम बहुत शॉर्ट में मैं आपको बता रही हूँ कि व्हाट आर द क्वालिटीज ऑफ ए ट्रू सबलाइम वर्क। तो एक्चुअली जो सोर्स क्या है, मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट में दिया हुआ था डायोनिशियस लॉन्जाइनस व्हिच लेड एंशिएंट स्कॉलर्स टू एस्क्राइब द वर्क। ओके, तो एक डिबेट था कि किसने लिखा था, एक्चुअली कैसियस लॉन्जाइनस, बट डायोनिशियस लॉन्जाइनस ये मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट में इसका नाम लिखा था, ओनली सर्वाइविंग मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट ऑफ ऑन द सबलाइम। So basically, it is a critical work, classic critical work on aesthetics and a work on literary criticism. The treatise is dedicated to Posthumous Terentius. These are basic things inspired by Plato. It is actually a critical analysis of 50 authors spanning 1000 years. So एक chronological उन्होंने describe किया था कि कौन से author sublime है, कौन नहीं है. That kind of description. And Longinus believed that the goal of writing is to achieve sublimity. Sublimity should be the ultimate goal. Now, what is sublimity? Longinus defined sublimity as a certain loftiness in a consummate excellence and distinction of language. ये बुक से लिया हुआ डेफिनेशन है, तो ये भी आपको पूछा जा सकता है कि सपोज ये डेफिनेशन के बीच बीच में कुछ वर्ड्स मिसिंग कर दिया गया, fill in the blanks and आपको fill करना, इस टाइप का क्वेश्चन भी आते हैं। तो what are the key words? Certain loftiness, consummate excellence, distinction of language, and these alone gave to the greatest poets and historians their preeminence. For the effect of genius is not to pursue the audience, but rather to transport them out of themselves. So it is not about persuasion, but it is about uplifting the audience. It is about transporting the audience into a different world, the world of sublimity. And that amount of loftiness is considered sublime in a particular work. It expresses itself in the general structure of the work or may appear like a bolt of lightning. ये भी आ सकता है कि किसके साथ उन्होंने कंपेयर किया था सब्लिमिटी को, दैट इज इन बोल्ट ऑफ लाइटनिंग, which means a kind of sudden realization or a kind of sudden jolt to your mind where you can realize that yes, I am in a sublime world. It scatters everything before it and revealing the power of the speaker at a single stroke. Okay, so that is actually the main point of being sublime. So it is compared with a bolt of lightning. That is also important. Okay, now sublimity, कुछ कुछ उन्होंने मतलब पॉइंट्स बताए थे कि सबलिमिटी हम किस तरीके से जज कर सकते हैं एंड सबलाइम क्या है। Sublimity cannot be measured or imitated. It should move the readers along with the effect of pleasure and persuasion. दोनों ही चीज होना चाहिए। तो ये भी आ सकता है कि what are the two elements or what are the two major effects of sublimity according to Longinus, that is pleasure and persuasion. It means a quality of greatness which can produce a lasting impact on human mind. So human beings should remember that kind of effect. The true sublime elevates us, that is actually transportation, so that uplifted with a sense of proud possession, we are filled with joyful pride as if we had ourselves produced the very thing we heard. So whenever it often happens, whenever we are seeing a very beautiful cinema or any beautiful theater or any we are reading any beautiful novel, we feel proud. Why? We have not read that novel, but yes, we praise the author that yes, this is the work which I have read and I am so much fortunate that I have the opportunity to read this particular work. So that feeling is actually sublime, which elevates us to a different level where we as a reader, we feel proud of the author. तो ये कभी कभी होता है. So that is the feeling of sublime according to Longinus. Now 5 sources of truly sublime works. This is actually important, जिससे आपका question आया था. Great thought, noble diction, dignified word arrangement and use of proper figures of speech, strong and inspired passion and its vigorous treatment, and elevated and elaborate composition. These are the 5 major sources of sublimity. First of all, you have a great thought. You need to have a massive plan to write a work. Then you must use noble diction, not very common language. You need to use noble diction, very the important words which are rich with so many meanings. And dignified word arrangement. You need to pick up the proper words to describe your emotion and also proper figures of speech. Strong and inspired passion. So it should not be mechanized. It must come out of your heart, out of your passion for writing, passion for that particular thing. And its vigorous treatment. And the treatment must be vigorous. And finally, the composition should be elevated and elaborate. It should not be too lucid or too hard, but in between of that, where reader can find interest, reader can try to uncover the major meanings of that text. That text should be sublime. Grandeur of thought and vehement of emotion are inborn gifts of a genius. Others can be acquired through art. And noble diction means the literary work which must have harmony, which can appeal to the readers. तो एक हार्मोनियस डिक्शन होना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं है कि आप लिख रहे हो एक मेलांकोली पोएम एंड यू आर यूजिंग वेरी रिदमिक वर्ड्स. So that will not be considered noble diction. Noble diction means it must be matched with your theme. It must be matched with your passion. Use of proper words and figures of speech will hold the reader attention, and emotions must be expressed through lofty words. So that passion, that grandeur of thought, that is inborn, and आपको उसको express कैसे करना है ये आपको सीखना होगा. That is acquired through art. Okay. And there are also some features of falsely sublime works. ये भी उन्होंने कहा था. Falsely sublime work क्या है? Use of bombastic words. This is falsely sublime. Childishness in choice of themes and treatment. Defect in style, no sincerity, lack of passion, and not interesting but tiresome. These are falsely sublime. Falsely sublime according to Longinus. तो ये भी आपका क्वेश्चन बन सकता है कि which features are there in a falsely sublime work. So these are the 5 features जो उन्होंने बताया है कि in falsely sublime work these features are common. Okay, so that is about the concepts of today's class. Thank you all for joining. This is the link of my Telegram channel. So don't forget to just like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel so that many more new learners can join. These are the timings of the classes Monday to Friday at 8:30 p.m. So don't forget to join me live. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to get notifications. So tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. we will cover concepts part 2. और भी जितने भी बाकी कॉन्सेप्ट है उसको हम कल के क्लास में कवर करें. So thank you all. Bye bye everyone. See you all tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.